has received for President of the United States 271 votes. Al Gore of the state of Tennessee has received 266 votes.
Barack Obama of the state of Illinois has received for President of the United States 365 votes. John McCain of the state of Arizona has received 173 votes.
Donald Trump of New York has received for President of the United States 304 votes. Hillary Clinton of the state of New York has received 227 votes.
The three most recent vice presidents presiding over joint sessions of Congress to formally count the votes of the Electoral College. Let's talk about it with our roundtable. Christie, former governor of New Jersey. Heidi Heitkamp, former senator from North Dakota. Republican pollster Frank Luntz, and Leah Wright Rigueur, professor of history at Brandeis University. So, Frank, lasting damage to the Pence-Trump relationship? I mean, Pence has never uttered a word critical of this president, but now he will be the public face announcing the finality of these results.
Well, it's going to impact him. 53% of Trump voters, half, think that Donald Trump still won this election after all the evidence to the contrary. And those people are going to be mad as heck on January 6th when Pence makes that statement. And so the challenge for the vice president is that he clearly would like to seek the office in 4 years. Trump is clearly going to be agitated with him. And I think that this is the beginning of a very painful period for the Republicans in Washington and across the country.
Obviously, all of this is happening on the backdrop of the Senate races down in Georgia. The president really undermining those two Republican senators facing this election in just over a week now, who voted for the coronavirus, the COVID relief bill, took credit for, I mean, there's even an ad up. One of the senators actually has an ad up boasting about voting for this bill. And then the president comes out hours later and calls it a disgrace. What's going to be the impact in Georgia?
Well, I think one of the things that Donald Trump has made clear is that on his way out of the door, he's smashing everything in his way. And part of the thing that is in his way is the current Republican Party. And so because the currency that Donald Trump deals in is loyalty, part of what we're seeing here and part of what's going on here is that he is punishing those people he feels that haven't been loyal enough to him. And so he is punishing the people in Georgia. He is punishing those who are running for Senate. But I think one of the things that we'll see is that it has been enormous in terms of fundraising for the Democratic opponents of these Republican congressmen. It's had a devastating effects in terms of financial fundraising, but also in terms of, this bill actually not getting out, this coronavirus COVID relief bill not getting out. We're seeing that it's had an added measure in terms of turnout, right? We've seen record numbers in terms of turnout already, particularly amongst black people, amongst white suburban people, amongst Asian Americans who are really angry about the way that the federal government has really bungled this entire mess, and so really want to cast votes that essentially cast out, the people in office they're holding responsible. And Trump is just, putting another nail in the coffin by helping out with that.
And I want to add, John, if I can add polling data to that. One of those races, the Democrat has now gone ahead in the Ossoff-Perdue race. And the other race, the Kelly Loeffler race, she is dead even with the Reverend. So the numbers have been getting worse over the last 7 to 10 days for the Republicans. They had a 4-point generic ballot advantage. That is gone because of the president. It's amazing that we're right now talking about politics when there are still record numbers of people dying. We did a study for the de Beaumont Foundation just in the last 48 hours. The number one group that is adverse to taking this vaccine that you talked about on your show earlier this morning are young Republicans. Instead of tweeting out this ridiculous stuff about the legislation or how he claims that he won this election, the president should be telling at least his own people, if not every American, take the vaccine, get the vaccine, be careful, don't be traveling, don't be going out. This president is responsible for the sickness and for the potential casualties because he's not doing enough. Stop with the politics, focus on the pandemic, spend the last 4 days going out on a positive note, and stop embarrassing yourself and the rest of the country.
So Governor Christie, I don't...
Jonathan.
Yes, go ahead, Senator.
I was I was just going to add, the complicating factor for Georgia is if he vetoes this bill, those two senators have to come back to Washington and go on the record against what probably will be a lot of motions to add the extra $1,400 per person in this bill. And it puts them in a very, very tough spot. And I think the president intended that. I think this is retribution from his ego being hurt by the fact that all these people did not rush to his defense.
Yeah, Governor, how much is this an effort to really torment Mitch McConnell?
Listen, I think, George, what's going to happen is the voters of Georgia can distinguish between the actions of David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler and the actions of the president in this regard. David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler have done everything that they can do in terms of advancing COVID relief for the people of Georgia and the people of the United States. They fought for it in the Congress and they voted for it, and they've placed it now on the president's desk. And the people of Georgia know that no matter what happens on January 5th, that Donald Trump will not be the president on January 20th. And the question is, who do you want representing Georgia at that period of time? Someone who will be objective and be a check on the Biden administration, or someone who will just be a rubber stamp for the Biden administration, which is what Ossoff and Warnock will be. And so I think the voters of Georgia will be able to distinguish between those two things. And I still believe very strongly that Loeffler and Perdue will both be elected on January 5th.
Governor, this is affecting turnout. We know it's affecting turnout already. We can see on the ground, if you go down there, if you focus group, if you listen to these voters, they're so frustrated with what's happening in Washington that they are not participating. This president's having exactly the impact.
Frank,
All right,
Frank, I'm looking at the real numbers.
All right, we're going to have to finish this conversation another time. We are out of time. Governor Christie, Senator Heitkamp, Frank, Leah, thank you very much for being here. That is all for us today. But before we go, our annual tribute to the team that works so hard behind the scenes to bring you this week, every week. Have a happy and healthy new year.